Mouse Rebel News fans, as you are well aware, last Wednesday a fertilizer plant in Texas exploded, killing 14 people and injuring at least 180, and destroying about a 5-city block radius of area. Now, the cause of the explosion is still yet unknown. However, some information has come forward. In the past, it has been shown that the company did not follow proper procedures. In fact, were found with 1,350 times the amount of ammonium nitrate that would require the Department of Homeland Security to carry out an oversight of. In other words, they were literally holding 1,350 times the amount of ammonium nitrate, an explosive material, that would require oversight by the government. Yet a person familiar with the Department of Homeland Security operations said that the company that owns the plant, West Fertilizer, did not tell the agency about the potentially explosive fertilizer as it is required to do, leaving one of the principal regulators of the ammonium nitrate, which can also be used in bomb making, unaware of any danger there. An amount of 400 pounds requires supervision by the Department of Homeland Security. Now, filings that were taken from the Texas Health Administration says that they had actually 270 tons of it in the previous incident. That this was supposed to be reported, but in fact they hadn't. Now, we don't know at this time if this is related to the explosion that just occurred, but one can imagine that if they were not following the proper procedure in the past, this very likely could have led to the explosion that just happened. Many safety regulators and U.S. congressmen, including Bernie Thompson, called for an investigation into the entire incident. It seems this manufacturer was willfully off the grid. This facility was known to have chemicals well above the threshold amount to be regulated under the Chemical Facility Anti-Terrorism Standard Act. Yet we understand that the Department of Homeland Security did not even know the plant existed until it blew up. Last Friday, a statement was released by Donald Adair, the man who owns the facility, saying that he felt sorrow for the people who have died and that he intends to cooperate with investigators in determining what caused the accident. Now, what we can see here is what appears to be a kind of bias. Small farmers are regularly visited by the FBI if they purchased, X amount of fertilizer, because the Oklahoma City bombing was a prime example of how fertilizer can be used as an explosive. It's routine for the FBI to investigate small farmers and question their use of the fertilizer. Yet clearly this company had 270 tons in a previous incident that was not even reported. Yet no one felt it necessary to investigate them. Well, how come a small, family farm gets investigated by the FBI on a regular basis to see who's purchasing it? Infinitely smaller amounts. Yet this large, exceeding amount was not investigated at all. Why is there investigation on small, regular farmers and not on large businesses? I think we can understand why the government, run by the ruling class, the bourgeois, would do something like that. It basically implies that only a small farmer could possibly turn out to be a terrorist, or that only a small farmer could have his fertilizer possibly stolen and used in an event, while a huge, monumental owner of such a large amount could go completely unregulated and ignored. What we have here is a system doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The Department of Homeland Security is not interested in watching large-scale firms who practically own the U.S. government. I'm not saying that this West Fertilizer does so. I'm saying in general, the system, which is owned and operated by big business, does not have the Department of Homeland Security there to watch them or to watch other, large businesses. The Department of Homeland Security is to watch the American public. Their job is to watch regular people, not the capitalist class itself. And I think we see what I think is a great demonstration of that fact. The Department of Homeland Security was too busy watching people and not watching a large business. Now, you could make the claim that they didn't know that this kind of fertilizer that this amount of fertilizer was in the previous incident, and yet to be determined what happened in this one. What's interesting to point out is that they didn't know, and that the Department of Homeland Security didn't have a mechanism by which to know. They are supposed to be informed by the person who purchases it, yet they didn't do that. I mean, this is no mechanism. If you purchase a firearm in many states, they are alerted. It is in the system somewhere, and it is recorded that you have it. Yet this monumental amount of explosive material was allowed to pass unquestioned into the hands of the ruling class. Now we can see the way the system is set up. And it was not an accident. This was done on purpose. The system is supposed to monitor regular people, not businesses, because the point of the Department of Homeland Security is to suppress the population, not suppress the capitalist class.